Hey guys, Sander here, and just wanted to make a quick intro for this review. That the reason behind doing a double episode review is less out of because it was like 2 episodes back to back intentionally by the creators, and also less because of procrastination like usual. Instead, it's because I had it in my head that episode 9 was going to be the actual season finale, just because, it's a part 1 and 2 episode close to the end of the season, so I legit thought it was going to be the actual end. But I saw on YouTube that there is a promo for episode 10, so now I just feel silly. So I kind of put off reviewing episode 8 last week for pretty much no reason. So that's basically the only reason why this is a double episode review this time. Not because of procrastination. But oh well, I hope you enjoy the review all the same, and enjoy. In episode 8, Clark begins waking up, hearing all kinds of voices, feeling a little overwhelmed at first and wondering if someone is actually nearby talking to him. But the voices become more clear, and he starts hearing cries for help and exits his apartment, trying to find the source of it, and finds a burning apartment building with a man crying for help, holding his child, trying to escape. And Superman comes in and helps him, lands him safely onto the ground with all of the onlookers, and begins hearing another cry for help, and flies towards that and saves a man from crashing in his car. And we see an overhead shot of him just zooming throughout the city helping people, until he is now hovering over the city listening for more voices. At one point hearing the voice of the general making some sort of plan to take down Superman and use his new Task Force X group. In the morning, Jimmy comes over to charge his phone, mentioning that he's back from visiting his parents, and on his phone he starts getting notifications from his YouTube channel, seeing a bunch of new views for his Superman video, and then seeing comments and clips from people who have been saved by Superman, clearly bringing new attention to Jimmy's channel and to Superman's good deeds. Clark then comes to talk to him after having saved someone, only to quickly exit the apartment to save someone again, and then come back, bringing up his new super hearing, and also the general's plan that he overheard from somewhere in the city. Jimmy, of course, is surprised but happy about this new result, but a little worried about Clark's lack of sleep, as well as the amount of coffee drinks just kind of left on the floor. So, that's not too great. Obviously, Clark's got some bags on his eyes and acting pretty erratic. At the Daily Planet, Lois goes to the office, finding a huge bunch of flowers all over the place, and receives a text from Clark saying happy 1-week anniversary, and also another text mentioning that he's got to go stop a runaway train. And she's, very happy about it, but still kind of worried about the hologram that she still has with her of the alternate version of Superman that's, kind of evil, still contemplating it all. But she's interrupted by Perry White, who, knocks on the door and has her come with him, needing assistance for a new guest editorial writer who turns out to be Gotham City's very own Vicky Vale, who Lois is very excited to see, having kind of kept track of all of her journalistic work that has, just kind of helped Gotham City a little bit. And Perry just, wants her to help her out and not regret, making this decision afterward, of course. Lois and Jimmy are now tasked with assisting Vicky, and when they ask her what she really wants to do while they're in Metropolis, she says she wants to hunt the biggest story in the city, that being Superman, and the two of them, Lois and Jimmy, are not too excited about that now, knowing what they know. Back over the city, Clark is trying to, again, listen in on the General and see what he has planned, and briefly hears him talking about losing someone and to, have his people find that person. Clark is confused by this, but can't listen in for much longer, being overwhelmed with other voices that he can hear, including that of a little girl looking for her mother, which he immediately goes to. Superman is able to find the little girl, telling her that he'll be able to find her mother, asking what her name is, which is Libby, and has her hold on to him while he flies over, listening for her mother, to which he does, and goes straight towards her parents, and they're happy to see her again. And while Clark is, smiling at his accomplishment, he overhears a news broadcast on a kind of set of TVs that are a store window that, you play the news in most cities. I don't know how many people have that, actually. But the news is mentioning a set of invisible robberies, as they say. And Clark soon figures out that perhaps the General is looking for the Invisible Man from Intergang. Meanwhile, Lois and Jimmy are following Vicky around as she tries to find people to talk to about Superman, when Lois suggests that they find the interviewees, knowing Metropolis as good as they do, and she and Vicky goes along with this, despite mostly just bringing them along to kind of annoy Perry. They first interview a captain of a airline, I imagine, who was saved by Superman. Then they go to an old woman who Superman helped carry her groceries, and then eventually they make it to the little girl that they met before, who had the kids newspaper, Flip Johnson, who Superman saved twice. While Vicky is distracted, Superman zips in and takes Jimmy and Lois away to a nearby alley to bring up the General and the Invisible Man, to which Jimmy helps him out by looking to see if any of his followers have mentioned any mysterious Invisible Man, showing that someone did in fact mention this not less than a minute ago. Superman then thanks him and zips off, trying to find this person before it's too late. Vicky then finds them and says that she has her own interview subject this time, and this person turns out to be the kind of like assistant for Dr. Ivo, who naturally says nothing but bad things about Superman, mentioning things that sound relatively incriminating, but still obviously very petty. But Vicky is very, excited to get this type of information and rolls with it. Superman quickly finds the Invisible Man and starts chasing him out of a pawn shop that he was starting to steal from, but his hearing starts getting worse and worse as he is kind of hurt from like the raining and all that other stuff, and starts crashing into fire hydrant and then straight into the sidewalk, which begins frightening people and even causing some people to start filming with their phones. At one point, the Invisible Man starts, running away right into the road and is almost run over by a giant truck, but Superman stops him and pushes him out of the way and ends up getting hit by the truck, which naturally does more damage to it than to him. More people gather around, very frightened, and Superman has nothing else to do but say he's sorry and fly away. After all the bad news, Lois and Jimmy call for Clark at the top of the Daily Planet, and he shows up feeling very burnt out from all of the lack of rest and constantly moving around and using his new power. Lois and Jimmy want him to rest and want him to take it easy for at least a little while, but Clark wants to stop the General, even if at the cost of his own health, for a little bit at least. Clark flies away from them and focuses his hearing on the Invisible Man, Mist, and eventually is able to get a good sort of, I guess, almost signal on him, and eventually finds him running away nearby an alley, and is able to find him and talk to him a bit, convincing him to help him stop the General and to save his sister from the Task Force X program. At the main destination, Superman and Mist see a giant cargo plane taking off, with them supposedly having missed the sort of transportation point, but Superman doesn't take that as a sort of defeat and flies straight into the sky, trying to meet with the plane, and eventually does, and rips open the door, trying to help everyone escape, but it turns out that they're all now working willingly with the General, and all collectively attack Superman in the sky, having their own new suits and their own new jetpacks to help them kind of fly around. Soon they knock Superman out of the sky and straight into the sort of big metropolis park, almost like Grand Central Park a little bit, and continue to beat him up over there. And back at the Daily Planet, Lois and Jimmy see that Vicky Vale has already published her paper on Superman and has already been promoted for the chief writer at the Daily Planet, just like she was at the Gotham Gazette. So yeah, they're not too happy about that, and then Jimmy sees that he has a new video recommended to him, that being live footage of Superman getting beaten up at the park. So Lois and Jimmy quickly go over there to possibly try and help Clark. Superman is able to kind of take out most of the bad guys while still being kind of exhausted and damaged, but still gets a decent enough job done until he is ambushed by Parasite or Dr. Ivo, and his energy begins being drained when he takes a tight hold of him, just like in previous episodes ago. And the General then shows up, demanding that Ivo stand down so they can capture him. Ivo ignores this order, but is quickly punished with a large electric shock via the collar that he's wearing, that pretty much all of the bad guys are wearing. While Clark is down, he asks the general why he's doing what he's doing, and he says that Superman is a threat and the possible end of the world. And they soon then take him onto the cargo plane, and Lois and Jimmy show up too late to do anything to help. In episode 9, we see Superman heavily restrained in a hidden facility by the military, where he is able to be electrocuted by the general as he interrogates him, wondering when the next attack is supposed to happen. Of course, Clark is very confused by this, but continues to get electrocuted and bombarded with more and more questions, until the general plays a sort of hologram / flashback of a moment in his life when over a decade ago a part of Kansas was sort of attacked by some sort of alien threat, and the general was there along with Amanda Waller, and he was of course very traumatized by this event and hopes to prevent an alien attack from happening ever again. Of course, Clark is still very upset and very just confused by it all, because he still doesn't really know who he is, and he even tears up because he legit doesn't know, and this confuses the general a little bit. Meanwhile, Lois, Jimmy, Flip, and the rest of the news kids look around Metropolis, checking all the different possible places to find Superman with little to no luck. And while sort of taking a break, Lois sits on a dock, kind of lamenting how she, said a few bad things to Clark before he left, and how she feels bad about that. But, Jimmy makes her feel a little better, just saying how they'll get through this and that things will be better for all three of them. And, they continue the search. Back at the secret base, in her cell, Livewire toys around with a coin, letting little sparks kind of come off of it, and starts thinking about an idea of escaping. So she sort of grabs onto her collar and starts letting out enough electricity to completely destroy it so she can escape, which ends up working. She gets out and then starts freeing all of the other Task Force X members. While everyone else wants to mainly escape, Dr. Ivo is the one who very much wants to take revenge on Superman, so he goes directly to where they're keeping him, breaks through the wall, and starts beating him down, breaking him out of his restraints and through another wall, despite him saying that he doesn't really want to hurt anyone anymore. Of course, Superman decides that he pretty much has no choice but to fight Ivo, so he indeed does, but unfortunately Ivo is too strong in his parasite suit, as well as him absorbing more and more energy through electrical wires and all kinds of stuff in the room to become larger and more strong. This culminates in him being absolutely massive compared to what we have seen so far, and eventually he becomes way too large and is able to break through the entire base and out to the surface. Superman does later escape out of a sewer grate, where he meets up with Flip, who is looking for him, but Superman tells her to escape while she can, because things are about to get way more dangerous. But she does end up, using her little walkie-talkie to tell Lois that Superman is, found and all that. Soon, Ivo breaks completely free in his ginormous, almost Godzilla-like form into the city, starts wreaking a little havoc while taking more energy from different buildings and, electrical towers and all that, becoming even larger. Superman has not too much of a great chance against him, and of course more people are going to be at risk. So while trying to figure out what Lois and Jimmy can do to help, Jimmy eventually decides to take out his phone and set up a sort of live video where he not only reveals that he is the one behind his YouTube channel, but also that he and Lois are friends with Superman, and that he needs help, and that he's, done all of these great things for the people in Metropolis, and that they all need to do something for him. So Jimmy tries to convince the entire population of Metropolis to turn off their electricity to stop Ivo from becoming more strong, and surprisingly this ends up working. So everyone shuts off their electricity, and Ivo is almost powerless, or at least he cannot gain any more power. While fighting, Dr. Ivo blames Superman for what happened to him and continues to call him a cheater, but Superman says that he pretty much did this himself, and that he doesn't care that he is an alien, and that he is simply Superman. Near the end of the fight, Superman finally unlocks one of his, I would imagine, last classic power unlocks in this season, his X-ray vision, as he figures out where Ivo is inside the giant mass of the suit, and speeds directly through the suit and pulls out Ivo from the back, making sure that he no longer has a suit and he is completely powerless. Sun rises on Metropolis and everyone celebrates Superman's, saving the day, and he goes back to the Daily Planet Tower where Lois and Jimmy are waiting. And he is, of course, glad to finally have saved the day, and Lois and Jimmy are happy that he got out in one piece. Near the end of the scene, Clark grabs Lois, does a flying twirl, and kisses her as she says she loves him, and he says it back. And Jimmy, kind of smiles looking on and decides to give him a moment, accidentally grabbing Lois's bag and going down the stairway from the roof, and notices that the inside of the bag is glowing green, and he ends up grabbing the holographic orb that Mr. Mxyzptlk gave Lois before, and he ends up seeing the hologram of the alternate universe Superman laying waste to the city that is also shown in the hologram. And of course, Jimmy's a little, shocked, but that is pretty much all we see of that for now. After that scene, we also see the General talking to Amanda Waller after the whole incident, and it turns out that their superiors have decided to remove the General from the Task Force X program, and Waller will be completely handling it. But the General isn't completely fired either, as he is given one last task, or at least, for now, which is to try and kill Superman with one last piece of tech that Dr. Ivo had invented, a special looking sort of pistol. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what exactly happens from that. And that was episodes 8 and 9 of My Adventures with Superman. Decent stuff. Of course, it's not the season finale quite yet, so I'm wondering what all they're going to do for episode 10, if that is the season finale, or they're building up to the sometimes traditional 13 episodes for a TV show season. I'm not entirely sure, so we'll have to kind of wait and see. I'd say this was, decently standard, decent, or, basic, good stuff. I would say I preferred episode 9 a little bit. Maybe it's just me, but I guess I kind of felt a lot of moments from episode 8 felt a little contrived, like they needed some, drama, so they had people become afraid of Superman, which, is natural, but it does kind of feel a little quick, but also kind of just goes away in the next episode, because no one really mentions it. Vicky Vale isn't mentioned in episode 9, and everyone goes back to loving and supporting Superman. But oh well, that's fine. I guess, even the writers were kind of feeling it was a little pointless. It was interesting seeing what they kind of did a little bit for the Kryptonians, where they showed them, but not by a lot. Mostly just like spaceships and, some of them encased in armor. But it was an interesting take, basically making them like a warrior race, closer to like the Saiyans in Dragon Ball, or even the people from Invincible. I forgot their names, but basically where Omni-Man came from. So that was kind of interesting, even if they didn't elaborate on it as much, but I get that it's supposed to be still kind of a mystery. Other than that, there's like small stuff. I still like the Lois and Clark relationship. It wasn't much of a payoff. I don't think it's actually called a payoff in the last episode, but it feels really nice to see them say that they love each other and have this big kiss with with them flying and with the sun coming down. I think dramatics wise it works very well and feels payoff-ish. And I did not mention it actually in the sort of recount of the story, but Deathstroke actually gets his eye sort of like scorched by live wire's electricity during the breakout, and he is shown having an eye patch near the end, so kind of cool, setting up more of Deathstroke, like maybe the actual costume from the comics more so, and other little things, but I don't know. Who knows if an eye patch will truly change all of that, but I mean, I don't know. But it'll be neat also seeing where all the other bad guys go from there. I'm sure they'll show up again in season 2 along with some brand new villains, but we'll again have to see if episode 10 is the finale or if there's a few more to go from there. So yeah, but overall, I like this. So, yeah. I'm gonna give episode 8 a 7 out of 10. Decent enough, not gonna lie. And then I'm gonna give episode 9 an 8 out of 10. A little better, but just simply good. I hope you enjoyed this new review for My Adventures with Superman, and I hope you stay tuned for whatever is left to come. Maybe you could also like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you guys next time. So you take care out there.